The Nelson Mandela Foundation will today host the 23rd Annual Nelson Mandela Lecture on Saturday under the theme Enhancing Peace as well as Global Cooperation. And this year's lecture will be delivered by Francesca Albanese, who's the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Occupied Palestinian Territories. And as anticipation builds, so does controversy. But Albanese made it very clear that this year's lecture will focus specifically on Palestine rather than on her as a figure. Let's now bring in SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo, who joins us live from the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Khayelihle, it's very good to have you with us on the show. So let's first unpack this very impactful theme, which is basically a call to action, so to speak, taking into account the current conflicts, not just within the continent, but the Middle Eastern deadly war that has since obliterated the enclave. So what are those in attendance expecting to be unpacked during the lecture?
Well, very much so, Alicia. There's a great deal of anticipation. But where we position, really, it is an exhibition about the life and times of Nelson Mandela, about the very monumental contribution that he made to South Africa's freedom. So this is a vantage point, Alicia. This is where it all started, right in the Eastern Cape, where he started in Fort Hare, where he really cut also his political teeth, but also a very important moment, Alicia, here in South Africa. This is also the 60s. This is a time also prior to the 50s. I mean, we saw the gathering where there was the Freedom Charter, where the aspirations of the democratic South Africa were really made. And I'm with my colleague here, Bulelani Scott, and here, Alicia, this is a very big one as well. This is where Madiba was addressing South Africans and the world as a free man. You can see some of the luminaries of South Africa's struggle who were really joining him here. But Alicia, all in all here in Sandton Convention Centre, it's all about enhancing peace and global cooperation as well, especially in the context of the current situation in the Middle East, Alicia. We've seen the ceasefire being brokered by a number of countries, the likes of United States of America, Qatar, and many others as well. But it's been really interesting to hear reactions from so many prominent South Africans who are in attendance here, including the chairperson of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Dr. Naledi Pandor, talking about the importance of this lecture amid a very fractured global system, Alicia, where we're talking about the rise of conflict, also deepening inequality. But you look at the current situation also here in the African continent. And of course, we're going to be positioned throughout here, Alicia, and I can hear from the proceedings inside that the lecture is about to start. And so many guests as well. We're going to hear from the United Nations coordinator who's based here in South Africa. So certainly we'll keep you posted during the course of the day.
Khayelihle, while you speak about the fractured global system there, I mean, there has been massive calls, right, for reforms, particularly in the continent and globally, on how these conflicts are actually resolved. It's still a very sticky point, right? Because we have seen peace efforts after peace deals being reneged upon, some blatantly disregarding international law, and the world not being able to do a single thing about these violations.
Well, certainly, Alicia, precisely that's the point, because it's all about fostering the dialogue, making sure that multilateralism is protected, especially with the rise of populism, unilateral steps being taken by a number of countries. So this is about reminding people, Alicia, about all important words that were made by Madiba as far back as in 2003 in Malawi, where he spoke about the very critical role played by the international organizations in terms of making sure that there is great cooperation in the world in terms of improving the living conditions. I mean, we go back to the issue of Palestine, especially, Alicia, we know that Ms. Albanese has been very active and very outspoken also about the global complicity to the current situation in the Middle East and calling for the world not to be silent, especially now, Alicia, we know that there is a peace deal that has been brokered. talking about a number of issues. They're talking about the access of humanitarian aid to Gaza, de-radicalizing also the Gaza Strip. So there's quite a lot of issues, but also, Alicia, in the context of Africa, I mean, so many conflicts. You look at the eastern part of DRC, you look at Sudan, a terrible situation that is unfolding there. So this is a sharp reminder to the world where also it's about a very uncountable conversations to galvanize action, to make sure that we see really just leaders doing so much in terms of protecting the civilians and making sure that we see change and a paradigm shift in terms of how things are done.
Get back inside the proceedings at the lecture. We'll definitely be bringing you more from those particular proceedings. That is SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo there live to us in Sandton at the annual Nelson Mandela Lecture.